The invitation never came. Not to my inbox, not to my mailbox, not even a casual text message. It was a Saturday morning in October when I saw the wedding photos on Instagram. My brother Mark is standing at an altar in a navy suit I'd helped him pick out 2 months earlier, smiling at a woman named Sarah, who I'd met exactly twice. The caption read, "Best day of our lives," with a heart emoji. There were 200 people in those photos. Cousins I hadn't seen in years. His college friends. Even our neighbor from childhood, who still lived 3 houses down from Mom. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me where in the world are you watching from. I stared at that photo for a long time, sitting in my kitchen with a cup of coffee growing cold in my hands. The lake house was quiet around me, just the gentle sound of water lapping against the dock outside. I had bought this place 2 years ago, a sanctuary on Lake Travis where I could escape the chaos of my consulting business in Dallas. It was my pride and joy, a modern cabin with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the water. I had imagined hosting family gatherings here. I had imagined Marcus bringing his future wife here to meet me properly. I had imagined a lot of things that clearly weren't going to happen. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Did you see the pictures? Wasn't it beautiful?" I typed back. "Yes, looked lovely." What else was I supposed to say? That I was hurt? That I was confused? That I couldn't understand how my own brother could get married without even telling me the date? The silence from Marcus wasn't new. We had been drifting apart for the past 5 years, ever since I moved to Dallas and started my own business. He stayed in Austin, working at the same tech company, living in the same apartment, dating the same type of women. We were different people who happened to share the same parents. But this felt like more than distance. This felt like a deliberate choice to erase me from the most important day of his life. I closed Instagram and tried to focus on work. I had a presentation to prepare for Monday, a new client who needed help restructuring their supply chain. Work had always been my escape, my way of proving that I was successful, independent, capable of building something meaningful. My consulting firm specialized in helping struggling businesses find their footing. I was good at fixing other people's problems. I was apparently terrible at fixing my own family relationships. The next week passed in a blur of meetings and spreadsheets. I threw myself into work, taking on extra projects, staying late at the office. I didn't call Marcus. I didn't congratulate him. I didn't reach out to explain why I was hurt. I just existed in the aftermath of his choice, trying to pretend it didn't matter. But it did matter. It mattered when I had lunch with Mom, and she talked about how beautiful Sarah looked in her dress, how happy Marcus seemed, how wonderful the reception was at the hotel downtown. It mattered when she showed me more photos on her phone, and I saw my cousin Lisa, my Aunt Jennifer, even my high school boyfriend's sister somehow made the guest list. It mattered when she asked, almost casually, "I'm surprised you didn't make it, honey. Marcus said you were too busy with work." Too busy with work. That was the story he told. Not that he didn't invite me. Not that he chose to exclude me. Just that I was too busy to prioritize his wedding. It was a lie that made me look like the selfish one, the sister who cared more about her career than her family. It was brilliant, really. He got to have his perfect day without the complication of our strained relationship, and I got to be the villain in the story. I didn't correct Mom. I just nodded and said work had been crazy, which was true enough. But as I drove back to Dallas that afternoon, a cold anger began to settle in my chest. Marcus had rewritten history to make himself look good, and everyone believed it. He had painted me as the absent sister, the one too important to show up for family. The truth was messier and more painful, but the truth didn't matter when no one knew it. 3 weeks passed. I was settling into a new normal, a life where my brother was married to someone I barely knew, where I was the sister who missed the wedding because I was too busy. I was learning to live with that narrative, even though it felt like wearing shoes that didn't fit. Then my phone rang on a Thursday evening. Marcus's name appeared on the screen, and for a moment, I considered not answering. We hadn't spoken since a brief, awkward conversation 6 months ago about Dad's birthday plans. "Hey, Jenna," he said when I picked up. His voice was warm, casual, as if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't just excluded me from the biggest event of his life. "How are you doing?" "I'm fine," I said, my voice carefully neutral. "How's married life?" "It's great, really great. Sarah's amazing. You'd love her if you got to know her better." There was a pause, and I could hear him taking a breath, preparing for something. Actually, that's kind of why I'm calling. Sarah and I want to plan a little honeymoon getaway, something romantic and private. We were thinking about your lake house. I almost laughed. The audacity was breathtaking. He wanted to use my sanctuary, my private retreat, for the honeymoon he was taking with the woman he married without inviting me. My lake house, I repeated, making sure I heard him correctly. Yeah, I know it's beautiful there. Sarah saw some pictures Mom showed her, and she fell in love with the place. We were thinking maybe a long weekend, just the two of us. It would mean a lot to us, Jen. Really, the nickname hit me like a slap. He hadn't called me Jen in years, not since we were kids sharing secrets and building forts in the backyard. Now he was using it like a tool, a key to unlock my generosity. When were you thinking? I asked, surprised by my own calm tone. Next weekend, maybe? I know it's short notice, but we just got back from our mini honeymoon in San Antonio, and we want to do something more relaxing, more private. He paused again. I'd really appreciate it, Jenna. As my sister. As his sister. The words hung in the air between us. I was his sister when he wanted something, but apparently not when he was planning his wedding guest list. I was his sister when he needed a favor, but not when he was making memories he'd cherish for the rest of his life. Let me think about it, I said. I'll get back to you. Of course, no pressure, but hopefully soon. We're trying to plan ahead. After I hung up, I sat in my Dallas apartment and stared out at the city lights. The lake house was my refuge, the place I went to think, to heal, to be alone with my thoughts. It was where I had processed the end of my last relationship, where I had made the decision to start my own business, where I had grieved when our grandfather died last year. It was sacred space, and now Marcus wanted to bring his new wife there for their romantic getaway. I thought about all the times I had offered him the house in the past. When he was stressed about work, when he broke up with his previous girlfriend, when he just needed a break from the city. He had used it a handful of times, always grateful, always respectful. But this felt different. This felt like he was asking me to be complicit in pretending our relationship was normal, that excluding me from his wedding was just a minor oversight. I thought about Sarah, this woman I barely knew who is now my sister-in-law. She seemed nice enough from our brief interactions, but she was essentially a stranger to me. The idea of her in my private space, using my towels, sleeping in my bed, making memories in the place that was mine alone, made my skin crawl. Not because I disliked her, but because it felt like an invasion, a violation of the boundaries Marcus had already crossed. But there was another part of me, a smaller, sadder part, that wanted to say yes. That wanted to believe this was Marcus extending an olive branch, trying to include me in his new life in whatever small way he could. Maybe this was his apology, his way of acknowledging that I belonged in his world. Maybe this was the beginning of repairing whatever had broken between us. I spent the weekend thinking about it. I walked through my Dallas neighborhood, sat in coffee shops, called my best friend Rachel for advice. Rachel was blunt, as always. He didn't invite you to his wedding, and now he wants to use your house for his honeymoon? Are you kidding me? But I couldn't shake the feeling that saying no would make things worse between us. That it would confirm whatever story he had told himself about why I wasn't at his wedding. If I refused this request, I would become the petty sister, the one who held grudges, the one who couldn't be happy for him. On Sunday night, I called him back. Marcus, about the lake house. Yeah. His voice was eager, hopeful. You can use it next weekend. I'll text you the security code and the instructions for the dock and the hot tub. Jenna, thank you so much. This is going to be perfect. Sarah is going to be thrilled. There's just one condition, I said, my voice steady and clear. Sure, anything. I want to know why I wasn't invited to your wedding. The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long I thought the call might have dropped. When Marcus finally spoke, his voice had changed. It was defensive, careful. Jenna, it wasn't personal. We wanted to keep it small. Small? There were 200 people there, Marcus. I saw the photos. Well, intimate then. Close family and friends. I am family. I'm your sister. Another pause. I could hear him breathing, thinking, probably wishing he had never called me at all. Look, things have been weird between us for a while. We don't really talk much anymore. Sarah didn't really know you, and we thought it might be awkward. Awkward for who? For everyone. For you, for us. We didn't want you to feel obligated to come to something where you didn't really know anyone. It was a lie wrapped in concern, and we both knew it. But it was the lie he was sticking with. the story that let him sleep at night. I was the sister who had grown distant, who had moved away, who wouldn't have enjoyed the wedding anyway. It was kinder than the truth, which was that he simply hadn't wanted me there. Okay, I said. You can still use the house. Really? Even after? I mean, thank you. I really appreciate it. Just take care of the place. You know how much it means to me. Of course. We'll treat it like it's our own. That phrase stuck with me after we hung up. Like it's our own. The lake house wasn't theirs. It was mine. I had worked for it, saved for it, chosen it. But somehow, Marcus felt entitled to use it. Just like he felt entitled to exclude me from his life when it was convenient and include me when he needed something. I spent the week preparing for their visit. I stocked the refrigerator with groceries, bought fresh towels, cleaned every surface until it gleamed. I told myself I was being gracious, that this was what family did for each other. But with each task, each preparation, I felt a growing resentment. I was preparing my private sanctuary for two people who had decided I wasn't worth including in their most important day. On Friday afternoon, I drove to the lake house to do a final check before they arrived. The place looked perfect, like a magazine spread. The afternoon sun was streaming through the windows, casting dancing reflections on the water. It was beautiful, peaceful, exactly the kind of place where two newlyweds could fall more in love with each other and with the idea of their new life together. I stood in the living room and imagined them there. Marcus making coffee in my kitchen, Sarah curling up on my couch with a book. The two of them watching the sunset from my deck, planning their future, talking about the family they might start, the traditions they would build. I was giving them access to magic, to the kind of romantic setting that would become a cherished memory. And I realized I hated it. Not because I begrudged them happiness. I wanted Marcus to be happy, even if I didn't understand his choices. I hated it because I was being used. I was the sister who wasn't good enough to witness their vows, but who was useful enough to provide a free vacation rental. I was being reduced to a service provider, someone who existed to make their lives more convenient. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. We're about an hour away. Thanks again for this. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I walked to the kitchen and opened a bottle of wine I had bought for them, part of the welcome spread I had prepared. I poured myself a glass and sat on the deck, watching the water and thinking about choices. The choice to be gracious even when someone hurts you. The choice to maintain relationships even when they feel one-sided. The choice to keep giving even when you're not getting anything back. These were the choices that made you a good person, a good sister, a good daughter. These were the choices that kept families together. But there were other choices too. The choice to set boundaries. The choice to demand respect. The choice to say no when someone takes advantage of your kindness. The choice to prioritize your own peace over other people's comfort. I finished my wine as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. It was one of those perfect Texas evenings that made you understand why people fell in love with this place. In an hour, Marcus and Sarah would be here to enjoy this view, this peace, this beauty that I had worked so hard to create for myself. I walked back into the house, grabbed my purse and keys, and headed for the door. On the kitchen counter, I left a note next to the groceries I had bought for them. Marcus and Sarah, welcome to the lake house. The security code is 1985, your birth year, in case you forgot. Food in the fridge, clean towels in the closet, life jackets in the shed. The hot tub takes about 30 minutes to heat up. Please lock up when you leave and reset the security system. Have a wonderful honeymoon. Jenna. It was polite, helpful, and completely impersonal. It was the kind of note you'd leave for strangers renting your property, not for your brother and his new wife. But then again, that's what we had become. Strangers who shared a last name and a complicated history. I drove back to Dallas with the windows down, letting the warm evening air clear my head. I had made my choice. I had been gracious without being a doormat. I had given them what they asked for without pretending everything was fine between us. I had maintained my boundaries while still being generous. It felt like a small victory, but it also felt hollow. This wasn't how family was supposed to work. Brothers and sisters were supposed to grow old together, to be there for each other's big moments, to build something lasting and meaningful. Instead, we were two adults who occasionally exchanged favors and pleasantries, pretending we were closer than we actually were. My phone rang just as I was pulling into my apartment complex. It was Marcus. Jenna, we're at the house. This place is incredible. Thank you so much. You're welcome. I hope you guys have a great time. We will. Sarah is already planning which bedroom we want. He laughed, and for a moment, he sounded like the little boy I used to build sandcastles with on family vacations. I really appreciate this, Jen. I know things have been complicated between us. Yeah, they have been. Maybe when we get back, the three of us could have dinner. Sarah really wants to get to know you better. I almost said yes. The word was right there, ready to tumble out of my mouth. Because that's what I always did. I said yes to keeping the peace, yes to giving people another chance, yes to hoping that this time would be different. But something stopped me. Marcus, can I ask you something? Sure. If I hadn't offered you the lake house, when would we have talked again? The silence stretched between us. In the background, I could hear Sarah's voice, excited and happy, calling him to come see something. I don't know, he said finally. I guess I don't know. That's what I thought. I took a deep breath. Enjoy the house. But when you get back, I think we need to have a real conversation about what kind of relationship we actually want to have. Not dinner with Sarah, not family gatherings where we pretend everything's fine. Just us being honest about what this is. Jenna, I'm not angry, Marcus. I'm just tired of pretending. Tired of being the sister who gets called when you need something and ignored when you don't. It's not like that, isn't it? You didn't invite me to your wedding, but you called me when you wanted my house. You haven't asked about my life in months, but you know exactly how to reach me when you need a favor. That's not a relationship. That's a transaction. I could hear him breathing, thinking. Sarah called his name again, more insistently this time. I should go, he said. Yeah, you should. Have a good weekend, Marcus. We'll talk when you're ready to be honest. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking slightly, but I felt oddly calm. I had finally said what I'd been thinking for years. I had stopped pretending that giving more would somehow make him value me more. I had stopped accepting scraps and calling them a relationship. The weekend passed quietly. I didn't hear from Marcus, which I expected. I spent Saturday reorganizing my apartment and Sunday at a farmer's market with Rachel. I didn't think about what they were doing at my lake house. I didn't check social media to see if they posted pictures of their romantic getaway. I focused on my own life, my own peace, my own space. On Monday morning, I got a text. House was perfect. Left it clean and locked up. Thank you. That was it. No mention of our conversation. No invitation to talk when he got back. Just a polite thank you, the kind you'd send to a hotel manager after a nice stay. I typed back, glad you enjoyed it. And that was the end of it. The end of pretending we were closer than we were. The end of giving more than I received. The end of being the sister who was always available but never prioritized. It should have felt sadder than it did. But mostly, it felt like relief. I had stopped carrying the weight of a relationship that only worked when I was the one doing all the lifting. I had stopped trying to be enough for someone who had already decided I wasn't worth including in his life. 6 months later, I got a call from Mom. Marcus and Sarah were having a baby. They were excited, scared, over the moon. They were planning a gender reveal party. I'm sure you'll get an invitation, Mom said, her voice carefully hopeful. Maybe, I said, but I'm not holding my breath. Jenna, you're his sister. Of course you'll be invited. I was his sister when he got married too. Mom was quiet for a moment. Then she sighed, the sound heavy with years of trying to keep our family together through sheer force of will. I don't understand what happened between you two. Nothing happened, Mom. That's the problem. Nothing happened, and I got tired of pretending that was okay. The invitation never came. I found out from Instagram that they were having a girl, that they had picked the name Emma, that Sarah's family flew in from California for the party. There were photos of Marcus holding a pink balloon, Sarah glowing in a flowy dress, both sets of parents beaming with joy. I felt a familiar pang of exclusion, but it was duller now, more distant. I had grieved the loss of the brother I thought I had. I had accepted the reality of the brother I actually had. There was freedom in that acceptance, even if it was lonely. I threw myself into work and into building relationships that were reciprocal and real. I started dating again, someone kind and emotionally available who understood that family wasn't just about blood ties. I expanded my consulting business, hired 2 employees, rented a bigger office space. I took up kayaking and spent more weekends at the lake house, filling it with my own memories instead of waiting for family gatherings that never materialized. A year passed, then 2. Marcus and I exchanged perfunctory holiday texts and birthday messages. I sent a baby gift when Emma was born, a beautiful handmade quilt from a local artisan. I got a thank you card in return, Sarah's handwriting, probably ordered from a list of people to acknowledge. I was okay with that distance. I had learned to define family differently, to value quality over biology. The people who showed up for me, who celebrated my successes and supported me through challenges, who included me in their lives because they wanted me there, not because they needed something from me. That was family. But sometimes, late at night at the lake house, I would remember the brother who used to call me just to talk, who would drive to Dallas to take me to lunch when I had a bad day, who once told me I was the strongest person he knew. I would miss that brother, the one who disappeared somewhere along the way, replaced by a stranger who shared my childhood but not my present. I had given Marcus access to my sanctuary, my most precious space, hoping it would somehow bridge the gap between us. Instead, it had shown me exactly how wide that gap really was. He had treated my generosity like a service, my love like a convenience, my presence like an option. In the end, the lake house had given us both what we needed. He got his romantic honeymoon, and I got clarity. The dock creaked gently in the evening breeze as I sat with a glass of wine, watching the sun set over the water. This was my peace, my refuge, my home. I had built it, earned it, protected it, and I had learned to share it only with people who understood its value, who understood my value. Marcus had asked to borrow my house. Instead, he had taught me to build better boundaries. He had asked for a favor. Instead, he had given me the gift of truth. Sometimes the most important conversations are the ones where nothing changes, where both people finally admit what they've always known. We were siblings by chance, not choice. We shared a past, but not a future. We had the same parents, but not the same priorities. And that was okay. It was honest. It was real. It was the truth neither of us had been brave enough to speak until a simple request for a weekend getaway forced us both to confront what our relationship actually was. I raised my glass to the setting sun, to the peace of the lake, to the clarity that comes from finally accepting reality instead of chasing the fantasy of what family should be. The water lapped gently against the dock, a sound that had become synonymous with home, with healing, with the life I had built on my own terms. This was my sanctuary, and I was finally ready to protect it.